the dysfunctional family history, writing authoritatively about relationships was, to some people, laughable. In fact, I secretly kept a file of emails and letters from readers who accused me of being a washed-up, bitter old maid. Maybe they were right. Of course, there were also plenty of complimentary letters from readers telling me I'd help them through a divorce or encourage them to reconcile with an estranged family member. But I'd found that people tended to write more when they were peeved at you than when they were thrilled. Also, they used more four-letter words. The package from Germany was probably a sarcastic how-to-get-a-man poster from a snarky reader who'd seen my column online. It wouldn't be the first, or even the fifth, I'd received. However, it might be the first insult I'd gotten in German. I pulled the covers back over my head and tried to retreat back to sleep. Today was the day my very last piece would run, and I didn't particularly want to be awake to witness my column's funeral. 4 hours later, despite my best intentions, I was sitting across the table from my best friend, Myra, at a restaurant overlooking downtown Orlando's Lake Eola, as she dramatically waved the current Orlando Sentinel at me. "You should be proud," she said firmly. "Seriously, Emily, you did a lot of good work with this column, and your goodbye was totally classy." "I told you I didn't want to talk about this today." I took a sip of Sauvignon Blanc. Wine at 2 in the afternoon was perfectly acceptable when you no longer had a job. So was the fact that I was already on my second glass. "Too bad. We're going to talk about it because denial never did anyone any good. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote from one of your columns." "I'm not denying anything." I raised my glass in a mock toast. "I'm just pointing out that my whole career so far has been pointless. Self-pity is not attractive on you." She gestured to the waiter and ordered another Diet Coke. Unlike me, she had a job to get back to. She worked in community outreach for Easter Seals, Florida, which meant that she was actually helping people all day long. "Fortunately, you managed to keep all that self-doubt out of your columns." I shrugged. She was right. I was much more well-adjusted in print than in the real world. If only I could live my whole life behind the protection of a computer screen. "As I was saying," she continued after her soda arrived, "this last column was great, and you're going to land on your feet." "I know I will. I just wasn't planning to be basically unemployed at 36. "Well, look at it this way. You have no obligations, nothing holding you back, no husband, no kids. You can literally do anything. Total freedom." I forced a smile. "Yes, lucky me. Perennially single and childless. Every woman's dream." Myra's brow creased in concern. "That is so not what I meant." "I know." Still, the words stung, especially since Myra knew the statement wasn't exactly true. I did have a child, but I'd given her up for adoption half a lifetime ago. Now that she'd just turned 18, an adult herself, the futility of my own life was really hitting home. What had I done with all the supposed freedom that giving a baby up had granted me? A whole lot of nothing, while my child had presumably blossomed under someone else's roof into a full-grown woman. Myra's expression changed, and I could tell that she was now thinking about Catherine. That's what I'd named my daughter before a nurse whisked her away, too. I'd confided in her 4 years ago, and it had felt good to finally unburden myself. I'd been carrying the story of my daughter's existence in some subterranean spot in my heart, in a place where I stored those pieces of my life I wanted to remember and forget at the same time. "I didn't mean to say you didn't have a child," Myra said quietly. "That was really thoughtless of me." I shook my head and tried to look unfazed. "No worries. I mean, hey, you're right. I gave her up, didn't I? She's someone else's child now, not mine." But although I hadn't seen Catherine since the day I gave birth to her, and although I knew that her new parents had undoubtedly given her a different name, she was still mine in some basic cellular way. I would always love her. I would always wonder about her. I would always fear that I'd hurt her rather than helped her by giving her away. She was in my blood, in my bones, and even all these years later, she was almost always my first thought when I awoke in the mornings. I had posted queries on an embarrassing number of adoptions.